And we'll probably move over this way. Or, okay,
Yeah.
cool. Cool. Are we live? Can you see? Cool. Well, welcome everyone. We're just letting people roll in here. But welcome to our Wednesday webinar. We are very fortunate to have with us today Clara Brown, paracyclist, Paralympian medalist, and Mainer. So awesome.
Well, thanks. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and you're also a community spoke as well.
I am.
So look at that. So we are going to start this off with a video that Clara wanted to share with us to kind of talk a little bit about her background, and then we'll kind of jump in from there. So without further ado,
It still made me appreciate every little muscle group that returned. Like I remember so vividly the first time that I was able to move a big toe. Like my left big toe was one of the first things to return, and how promising that was because it's so far from my injury. I've always loved the feeling of pushing myself and feeling limitless and free. And I know firsthand what it feels like to feel confined and to feel impaired and to feel like I have limitations, and to go to the total opposite end of that spectrum and to be able to soar and do these things that I'd once thought were unattainable feels incredible. I am Clara Brown, and I'm a Paralympian and world champion. I grew up in Maine, and I didn't really appreciate it as much as I wish I had growing up. When I had the opportunity to leave to go to college, I went as far away as possible. I went to Washington State. So I just wanted to get out of the New England bubble and how small and insular it felt here. And then after several years away, I realized all of the great things this place has to offer, and also the people I left behind, which made such an impact on me growing up. And I wanted to reconnect with them and also build a life here. Sport has been a part of my life since I can remember. Like, I grew up in a very active family. I was a competitive gymnast, and when I was 12, I had a fluke accident at practice where I landed on my head and I crushed two vertebrae in my neck and damaged my spinal cord. I didn't pass out, but I remember kind of having a moment of coming to and having the sensation that I was floating. I couldn't even sense where my body was in space. I had no feeling of pressure or proprioception. Like, it was a bizarre and terrifying feeling. Even though at the time of injury, I was paralyzed from the neck down, basically, there was some chance that I could recover. I wasn't able to walk yet, and they put me in this harness, and they had therapists, one per leg, just moving each leg in the motion of walking. The whole theory was that, like, if we get these movements to be happening, like, your body will kind of remember and relearn how to do it. Movement is medicine, is the age-old saying. Like, I think it's so true that there is a lot of power, I think, in just moving and getting things oiled and going. I think my injury has taught me that body is incredibly resilient, and you can enjoy activities in life to any extent. I know that the reality is, like, I won't get anything back, anything further from my spinal cord injury, but I'm not satisfied with the utilization of what I've got. Like, I know that I want to keep pushing my body, and I know that there's more to get out of it. There are all of these things that I still want to do, and I'm not satisfied with sitting on the couch and being sedentary. Like, I want to be moving and exploring and living to the fullest with what I have. Growing up with my dad as a pilot, I always had this admiration and excitement around it, but until I really saw another woman do it, I just didn't see myself doing it. I've always loved the feeling of flying and feeling free. So I'm currently pursuing my private pilot, and from there I'll go on to instrument. I'm really excited to pursue a career in aviation. And with a disability, it's a bit more challenging in that I just had several extra steps to be able to demonstrate that I'm safe and competent to fly. And I know it sounds cliche, but I want to say like soaring really has been a part of my life. I've always wanted to reach great heights, and like I've always loved the feeling of pushing myself and feeling limitless and free. And I got that with gymnastics, where I could just have my body do crazy things in the air and land on my feet. And with cycling, I feel that every day I ride and feel the wind in my face and just feel free. And then to actually go flying is just experiencing all of that and then some by controlling this vehicle in the sky. Science fair. Something that I really would love to encourage other people is no matter how you do it or what it looks like, you're still doing it, and to push yourself to do more and to experience new things, to ride different routes and to meet people or see sites that you wouldn't otherwise have seen. I roam for the freedom and the ability to explore and experience new things and take joy in the little things and just be like excited with what lies ahead.
That was cool.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a while.
Nice.
Just a year ago.
Where are you riding in that?
Winslow Park, part of it.
Yeah, Winslow Park was part of it.
Okay.
It was closed, so this was early April. We did the filming. Then there were a few shots in, I think it was Lower Flying Point in Freeport.
Okay.
And then one of my favorite roads off of Route 9. I can't even remember what it's called, but it's it crosses Route 9 perpendicularly. It's kind of by Pineland.
Yeah, it kind of looked like that whole like Cumberland, New Gloucester
Yeah.
kind of like gravel section. So
Yeah. Oh yeah, that there was a off of, I think it's Woodman Road
something like that. Yeah.
off of 231. So that was one of the gravel sections we shot, but it just kept just getting so dusty that we had to move because the camera was getting covered. But yeah, so many places to pick. It was really fun to have the crew come and I got to choose the locations, and I had too many options. Maine is so gorgeous.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's something we definitely preach here a little bit, and we've talked about it. It's just how underrated Maine is for biking,
Totally.
and how it's like I feel like it's kind of on the edge of like
it's on the
becoming a
cusp
place,
of
you
blowing
know,
up.
when people start finding out places like AMC and stuff like that, and how great their riding is up there. It's
Yeah.
only a matter of time before everyone's here. It'll be next steamboat.
Yeah, so we need to soak in the quiet while we can.
Super cool. Well, so yeah, so Maynard, you grew up in Falmouth, right?
I did.
So, and where'd you go to college again?
I went to University of Puget Sound, just south of Seattle, in a town called Tacoma.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And so what was the impetus to come back to Maine then?
There were so many reasons. I had lived all over the Mountain West post-grad and really loved my time there, but I first and foremost wanted to be closest to family, but then also really, really did not appreciate how great the road riding was here. And moving back, I was kind of in the height of my professional career and prioritizing great places to train. And I know people laugh that a few months out of the year you can't ride a bike, but at the same time, I love the snow, and it far out the great riding in the summer, spring, and fall far outweighed taking a few months to ride the trainer. And these days I've actually been riding pretty much year round, whether it's on the fat bike or on my gravel bike with fenders and bundled up. So yeah, there were all these incredible reasons, and I'm glad we made the move.
Nice. Were you able to like find a community out here of riders as well? Because I feel like part of like being competitive always seems like you need to have the community around you that kind of support you and get you out as well.
Yeah, it's been small but mighty. I think I've really enjoyed the smaller groups and also a lot of solo training, just in that I do very structured things, and I also have the freedom to ride whenever I want. So that is also limiting, and just a lot of people have the full-time job, which is fair. That allows them to pretty much only ride at night, and I go out for most of the day. So yeah, it's been a good mix of solo and riding with friends and building that community, and really, really enjoying both aspects.
Super cool. So, I mean, the big exciting thing that I'm sure we all want to talk about is bronze medal in 24. Super cool. Congratulations.
Thanks so much. It still feels surreal.
Yeah, I can only imagine. But I was kind of curious. You competed in 21 and it was COVID, strange time. What inspired you to come back for 24? Because I feel like we talked once before and you were a little unsure about it. So,
Yeah, I was unsure. It's such a big commitment. I mean, as anybody who rides can appreciate, it's so much time on the saddle, and then pretty much your whole life is dictated by performance. So sleeping right, eating well, that then makes you have sacrifices socially and all the other things. So it really was a heavy decision, but I ultimately wanted kind of a redemption year and to be able to have a performance I was proud of. And it wasn't even about a result or a medal. It was more so just feeling like I was showing up with a healthy body and a healthy mind and was able to lay it all out on the course and see how it all fell.
cool.
So yeah.
So when you decided to do this, like what was there like a moment that was like, no, this I'm gonna do it? And like if there was, like what was the next step after that? Like what was the training process? Like how'd you kind of
Yeah.
what does one do to get to that stage?
So I think what really sealed the deal for me, figured I would give myself one year post games to kind of reassess and to compete and just see how I did. I definitely had kind of an injury that I was rehabbing post games and just wanted to get healthy again and see what my potential was because I was still so new at that point when I went to Tokyo that wasn't really sure where I could perform at my best. And I won time trial world championships, so my first world title on the road in 2022, and that was kind of the fuel I needed to see it and see that when I'm at my best, I can perform and do well in my field. And from there, it was just determining what my best potential was for success at the games. Just we have fewer events at the games and fields are combined a bit differently. So especially within Paralympic sport, there are a lot of nuances with classification and how different impairments are competing against each other. So it was also a kind of a bigger picture. What do I best have a chance at medal wise? So we went in focused entirely on the road race, which is what I ended up medaling in. So that strategic move really paid off. And yeah, it was a lot of training. I mean, truly, it's just like a lot of time on the bike, a lot of analyzing how my field races. And again, para is such a unique kind of facet of the sport in that we're not racing a whole lot. And so I'm trying to learn competitors with fewer opportunities and see how most people race and be able to predict how the race may unfold at the games itself. So yeah, it was a lot of racing leading up to that, training and all of the other elements I mentioned before.
I mean, that's the interesting part of like bike racing too, is that there's the fitness part of it. It's a huge part of it, but like the racecraft, like knowing how to do this is just like any other sport that requires that kind of like mental capacity, that mental skill around it.
Right. Yeah, and it's frustrating, but also beautiful that not necessarily the strongest rider wins. It's how that rider has conserved energy and expended it where they deemed it valuable and ultimately paid off to win. So
yeah, it was kind of like how this year the women's road race in the Olympics was folded out, and it was just a very well-timed attack and just like playing the game of patience. It was so cool to see. So
and she executed her plan perfectly. Like she had that intention going into the race to get that exact scenario. So I definitely respect Kristen for pulling it off. It's pretty incredible what she did.
So cool.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So what was it like being at the games?
It was as amazing as I had dreamt and better in a lot of ways. It was so over the top and felt so special. It felt like there wasn't a moment that would go by when I was in the village that I didn't appreciate where I was, because this giant city put on this event for us, and we were able to like live it and reap the benefits, and got to meet all of these amazing athletes from all over the world and their, support staff and coaches, and also just got to soak in the spectacle of it all. And Team USA does it over the top. I mean, from the welcome experience of bringing athletes to Paris, where we go to this retrofitted warehouse and are, guided to our Ralph Lauren room, and then our Nike room, and our Skims room, and getting our ceremonies tailored outfits, specifically to us. It was just so wild, and it felt really, I just had to pinch myself that I got to be a part of it. And then to medal at the very end was such a cherry on top. But yeah, I was there. I got to experience opening ceremonies, which was huge. Again, in Tokyo, cycling was so far from the village. We were staying in other accommodations, so we didn't have the opportunity to go. And of course, things were a little bit dialed back. And so to be able to experience both opening and closing ceremonies, and then I was in the village for pretty much the duration of it, not competing. So I was just waiting and waiting and waiting for my event. So that was a bit challenging mentally, just watching my friends and competitors in other sports actually have their moment, and worrying about how mine would unfold, but also so excited. And so it was quite a lot to take in all at once.
Super cool. Yeah, I can only imagine just the nerves and the waiting, and just like, just want to get this over with in so many ways.
Right. And like, I want to do everything I can to set myself up, but feeling also like I had to trust that I'd put in all the work ahead of time, and now wasn't going to be a big difference fitness wise. It was more so how can I recover and best show up fresh mentally, physically on the day. It's not like I would gain a whole lot. So it was more so just mitigating losing anything. But yeah, it really was such a cool thing to do, and felt once in a lifetime.
Awesome. So how'd your race unfold? How'd it go for those of us who didn't catch it?
Yeah. So it was a circuit. We had 4 or 5 laps. I spent enough time now, I don't even remember the specifics of it, but I think it was 4 laps. So the course kind of had 2 distinct sections. The first section was kind of this flat technical through town, and then a quick little descent to go climb kind of a long, it was maybe 2 minutes, up to another flat section with a punch up to the finish line. And I knew from the time trial, just kind of anecdotally from coaches that were along the sidelines and rewatching some replays, that I was one of the stronger technical riders. So my strategy was just to go in lap 1 kind of on the front and test the water, see how the other girls, if they could sit on my wheel going through town. And so I took the corner, like first corner of the town section pretty fast, and got through the whole kind of technical several turns in a row. And I look behind me and nobody's there. And I was like, okay,
it's on.
Now what? And I just wasn't sure. I was like, it's so early, I don't know. So I see like 2 girls come around the corner, and ultimately it ended up being like a group of 6 of us that I'd whittled it down to from literally 4 minutes into this race. And I'm yelling at them like, we have a big gap, please let's cooperate, because this could be a winning move. And it ended up playing out that way. So the 6 of us worked relatively cohesively. And again, I'm kind of testing where I'm getting gaps on the other girls, and took the last kind of technical section really fast, dropped all but. So I dropped 2 riders, and then it was 4 of us coming into a sprint. And I was sitting in silver. The gal who ended up winning, woman from Japan, I've never beat her in a sprint, to be honest. Like, I knew going in it would be a long shot to beat her. I gave it everything. I was on her wheel coming out of the last corner, but knew I didn't have her. And then I go to like stand up and sprint and my right arm just totally gives out underneath me. So I kind of like coasted through the finish line and got pipped right at the line by the Swiss. But it was so sweet to have a medal. I didn't care. I was
Yeah.
like, I mean, I'm para for a reason. We're all working with our unique, physical bodies. And I just happened to kind of have wrong place, wrong time malfunction, but was so stoked to hear my name announced that I had won bronze. And it was a hard fought battle for that sprint. So
Did you know when you crossed the line that you were in bronze, or?
I knew it was close. I mean, she was definitely making it. Like I said, I'm like coasting through,
Yeah.
and I'd seen the replay and was just like, I'm embarrassed by it. I like wish the video didn't exist. But it like I'd seen her kind of in my periphery gaining, and I knew it was kind of up in the air. I wasn't sure, so whatever. Again,
Sweet.
I'm very happy, no matter the color, and I'm very proud of her to have taken that on me. So
Cool.
it's okay.
So you did bring the medal with
I
you.
did,
Can you
yeah.
show us real quick?
Sure.
I wanted to ask you to bring it in, but I didn't want to be that person, so you should probably bring it in.
I figure, if I'm doing something post game, people are gonna want to see it. So what's really cool about the medal, I don't know if you can see in the center here, this is a piece of the Eiffel Tower. They reclad the Eiffel Tower and put a piece with every medal, and then on the back, it's a view looking up to the Eiffel Tower, if you can kind of see that geometric pattern, I guess you would call, and then it says Paris 2024 Paralympic Games, and then on both sides it's written in Braille for visually impaired athletes. So it's such a special piece and incredibly heavy for
I was
how
surprised.
it looks. And it came with this case that it's very comfortably sat in when I don't have it out for things like this. So most of the time, and it's really special.
Yeah. I mean, I'm major not like just wearing around everywhere, because I know I would like go to a bar and like, it's just my Olympic medal,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do not do that, but
Yeah.
no shame if others do. That's just not my approach. But it's still really cool to have opportunities like this to bust it out and share the excitement, because it is really cool. And
it is super cool, and congratulations again.
Thank
It was
you.
also really cool to cheer for a Mainer and like
Thanks.
do this. Is like, I know you've definitely gotten a lot of praise. You've kind of done the rounds, but still, it's still really cool to see that. So
Thanks. Yeah, I'm very, very proud to be from Maine, and officially I was the only Mainer representing Team USA between the Olympics and Paralympics this summer. My teammate didn't actually get credit. She grew up in Freeport, so there were two of us. But still, we happen to be teammates. She was a tandem pilot for paracycling.
super cool.
Okay, great. Yeah, Team USA got her hometown listed in California. I think she had moved later in life, and that was the default, but she's from Freeport. So Skylar Espinosa, also very proud Mainer.
Awesome. So cool. So now that you're Olympic medalist, and I forgot to mention before that you're also a world champion. More than once, right?
I'm offended. Yeah, 3 times.
3 times. Okay, yeah, no big deal. Just 3 times wearing the rainbow stripes. So you talk about being a pilot. Like, what else is new? What else is next?
I think that's pretty much my main focus at this point. I mean, I'm still riding. I'm not sure what's next in that aspect. I'm doing quite a bit of gravel racing. I just joined the gravel team this year, and I'm really, really excited to be on an able-bodied squad and mix it up with the elite women.
Sweet.
But also realize how much flight time and experience is required in order to have a career in aviation, and don't take that lightly. So I'd like to kind of get a move on with that and progress through my training as quickly as I can, while also riding and enjoying the bike.
So you're busy.
Very busy, yeah. lots happening, but it's all exciting stuff. So it's not
cool.
Yeah, it's a grind on some days, but also very appreciative for it in others.
Nice. So you talked about doing some more gravel riding. Any big events you're doing this year in the big rides, or is it be mostly local?
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of some large events. So I have 6 on my calendar. I'm doing Rule of 3 in Arkansas.
Cool.
And that will be in May. That's kind of my season opener with gravel. I have a big trip in March that kind of limited my early season, but for the best, it's going to be a really cool event. And then I am going to Unbound. I'm doing
Mhm.
the 200, which I'm very nervous for, but also,
Hope it doesn't rain.
yeah, I know the mud sounds legendary, but I'll take it. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm excited. And then I'll do SBT later that month, later in June in Steamboat. And then I'll go to Last Best Ride, go see my sister. She's in Whitefish. So
Oh,
it's kind
cool.
of a twofold trip. I'm really, really excited to see her dog more than her. No, I'm kidding. And then I'll do Vermont Overland.
Okay.
And so I'm actually doing 7. And then I'll do Gravel Nationals and in Minnesota in September, and then finish it off with Big Sugar in Arkansas. So
Sweet.
quite a bit with gravel, and then I'll do a World Cup in Belgium with my para team, and then World Championships also in Belgium. So World Cups in May and World Champs are in August. So it's a pretty full calendar. And then everything else in between. I'm doing a long fundraising ride called Fireflies Patagonia in March. So it's going to be 1,000 kilometers through Patagonia and raising money for childhood leukemia. So
Super cool.
Kind of a packed year, but and then flying somehow in between. I'm hoping to take my instrument check ride right before I leave for Patagonia, but we'll see how that works out.
So is the goal with flying aviation, is that to be a commercial pilot then?
Yeah, I'm not picky. I'm not sure exactly what career path I would I'm just exploring at this point. I know I would like to work as a pilot. I just don't know in what capacity. So whether that's an airline or corporate or some other avenue.
There's many different ways you can go about it, right?
Yeah.
So
And I'm early on enough. I just need to be building time and experience and networking and see what opportunities present.
Super cool. Well, awesome. I mean,
Thanks.
still a very incredibly inspiring person. But I figured now would be a good time if there's any questions. Do you got any out there?
I have a question.
Sure.
You know, so you're a community spoke. You've taken the BCM's community spokes training to be an advocate. What does that mean for you? How do you feel that it's important to pay attention to active transportation in our communities, and what are ways that you think people can get involved?
Yeah, first and foremost, I felt kind of some responsibility given how much I utilize these roads and have firsthand experience. And I'm incredibly comfortable on a bike, and there are so many moments throughout my ride still that I feel uncomfortable, and putting myself in someone else's shoes who's not nearly as comfortable, how terrifying it must be. And even still have close calls with cars, and really do firmly believe in safe bike and pedestrian infrastructure. And I think also using it as a mode of active transportation is incredible. It's active for the user, but also allows them to be engaged in their community. And I really do believe in this cause, and I hope that we're able to collectively invest in safer infrastructure for all of us to use. So yeah, that was the kind of the motivation, and I hope to do more of it. I think what's hard is having so many things on my plate and wanting to be involved, but not also having the time to be as much as I want. So
cool, thank you.
So cool. Any other questions out there? If not, I have one last question.
I was gonna say you're welcome now.
So my last question for you is obviously like, what would you tell people who, want to go down this journey, or like, have these things to overcome? What was your like last piece of advice you would give someone?
I think there's so much in saying it out loud and seeking representation and seeking a mentor in the kind of the realm you're pursuing. So I kind of credit both flying and cycling to encounters with other people and saying what my goals were and having them kind of lead me to a source that could help me like get to that point and lay out what that looks like. So in cycling, I was a bike guide for a large company that brought people on bike vacations, and I mentioned wanting to get back into competing and not sure if I had a place in the Paralympic world, to one of my guests who was wearing a Team USA kit, and he so happened to be on the Paralympic Advisory Committee and connected me with my high performance director, now high performance director. And with flying, again, I mentioned in the film feeling really unsure where disability fit in with flying. And my brother, who's also a pilot, connected me with a friend of a friend who's an amputee at his shoulder, and he flies. And we chatted, and he was so encouraging and walked me through the process of how to get an exemption on a medical certificate demonstrating that you're safe and able to fly. And he kept saying, if I can do it, you can do it. And having those resources and having people who are encouraging each other and paving the way is so important. And also, as I mentioned, it's not necessarily like it's not what it looks like, it's that you're doing it. And I was so intimidated by the bike because I felt like I wasn't sure I'd be able to operate all of the controls and how it's typically laid out, and then finding out later that it's such a modifiable piece of equipment and you can enjoy it, even if you don't have use of a hand, and you're able to, how I have set it up, I have a brake splitter. So I have one brake lever that goes to both the front and rear brake. And then with electronic shifting, it's super easy to add an extra function button and be able to shift with one hand seamlessly. So just don't feel limited, and say things out loud, and allow yourself to receive help from those who are knowledgeable and have kind of been in your shoes. And dream big, I think, is my advice.
Nice. Well, Clara, thank you so much for taking time coming down here and chatting today.
Of course. Thanks for having
Always
me.
super cool to have you here, and yeah, hopefully
Yeah.
hopefully be back
We'll
here
be
soon.
in touch, yes.
Cool.
Not unless you'll see me.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining. Our next webinar will be February. I always forget the date. In 2 weeks from today, so it'll be the 19th. Got it. 19th. Is it the 19th? Yeah.
It's the 19th.
And we'll be with our Associate Education Director, Eric, talking about his trip to Brazil with Partners for Americas and exploring their infrastructure and their bicycle education. Besides that,
Cool.
hopefully everyone has an excellent day, and catch you again. And thank you again, Clara.
Of course. Thanks again.
All right. Take care, everyone.